Ooh, that's a little bit better one. Yes, sir. All right. Come on up here. That'll work. I mean, he's not giant. Like, that's maybe a 2 1/4, 2 1/2 maybe. Hey everybody, welcome back to Steve Basinger Fishing. I am out here on Kincaid Lake in Illinois right now, southern Illinois. And if you can see behind me, there's mats out there. And I came out here just to try to get a little bit of a tune-up because I'm going down to Guntersville here in a couple weeks. I'm gonna do nothing but punching. So barring anything going bad, you ought to see a video coming out about that here soon. But in the meantime, I came out here to do a little tune-up, and I wanted to do a little punching here. I'll be completely honest, it's not the deal on this lake today. There's not that much grass left, but I do kind of have it all to myself. I didn't see anybody messing with it. So with that, I wanted to kind of talk about baits that I like to use for punching, and maybe throw a couple tips in there you haven't got before. Okay, first tip we're going to talk about is one that gets overlooked a lot, but people don't really think about that much, and that's choosing the right kind of hook. You know, I feel like most every bass fisherman has an extra wide gap hook in their box, and they probably fish with the extra wide gap hook more than any other type of hook. But this does not work out very well for punching. I know you may think it might because, well, look, the barb is in line with the shank of the hook, so it shouldn't pick up much garbage, much grass going in and out of the mat, which is definitely something you want. However, there's two problems with this type of hook. The first is because it's in line, it's very hard to get a hook in the fish compared to what I'm going to show you next, which is a straight shank flipping hook. It's very hard to get it in because this is, well, again, it's kind of angled back in. Also, when you're punching mats, you're using braided line. I use 50 most of the time. Lots of guys use 65. A big heavy rod, I use a 710 to 711 extra heavy flipping stick, and you're just muscling that fish for all you're worth. Well, you put all that stress on that rod and that line, something is going to give if the fish doesn't, and it's probably going to be this hook, and it will flex. See if I can show you with the I think I glued my pliers together earlier today. There we go. See if I can show you, but it'll kind of flex. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not really giving it that much, okay, but can you see that hook flex? Hopefully you can. Now if you get to really winching on one when you set the hook, that's going to open up and it's going to tear like a rip in the fish's mouth, and this hook's going to come out. When you get it back, it may look just like this. You may not think you straightened the hook, but you actually did. A lot of these hooks are actually pretty wiry, like they'll pop right back too. So anyways, you want a big thick hook. So the one that I like, this is a Trocar, what was known as a TK130. I don't know if that's still what they're called, but this hook, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to flex, but it doesn't flex much. See if I can do it without messing up my barb. It's got a little bit of flex to it, a little bit, but you're also getting it where, if you can kind of see hook shank to hook shank, like I'm kind of holding those hook shanks next to each other, and you see this is the extra wide gap, how that hook point is still further down, this one's further out, so you got another nearly ½ inch of gap, in essence, kind of gap there, that's going to be forcing into the fish. So you're going to get a lot better hookup ratio using the right type, a straight shank flipping hook. By the way, so like I said, TK130 Trocar. A lot of guys really like the owner, I believe it's called a Jungle Hook. I haven't used that one, but I've heard a lot of great reviews on it. The other reason that this is good, and this is a 3/0, by the way, I try not to go bigger than a 3/0 because, again, it's about getting the bait in and out of the cover. And if you have a great big hook hanging off the bait, it's hard to get it in the cover. So hopefully I can show that pretty decent, but you know, that's pretty well. Let's just rig it up real quick. I'm going to try to show you what this looks like in the bait, and then I'll rig the other one up too. So that's what the actual flipping hook, sitting about like so. And then rig up the other one. I'll put it on one of these again. I got baits everywhere, man. Okay, so extra wide gap. This is a 4/0 hook, by the way. So you wouldn't actually, you know what, you wouldn't want to text pose this, so I'm just going to stick it in kind of like you would the other one. So look how much bigger, this is the extra wide gap. Look how much bigger that hook sticks out, how much further that sticks out. That makes that much harder to go in and out of cover. It's just a bigger, wider target to try to get through. And then also, like, I did not text pose this one as you normally would with an extra wide gap. It's buried in there, which just, again, is going to make it really hard. Like, I got to really, really, really pull on that to get that hook to come out through there. Definitely not ideal. If you don't listen to anything else I do in this video, please use the straight shank flipping hook. Please, please, please. So the next one has got to do with the weights. Look, I'm not gonna lie, tungsten is expensive. It's getting cheaper. Used to be like like they were all expensive, but now it's so prevalent. It's everywhere now. Not all tungsten's the same, but it's all pretty good stuff for the most part. So you can get some cheaper stuff. Again, not cheap, it's just cheaper than what it used to be and what's, you know, some other stuff that's out there. When punching, you need tungsten. So this is a 3/4 ounce tungsten. That's in the floor now. Tungsten weight. 3/4 ounce tungsten weight. Okay. This is a 1/2 ounce lead weight. See how much bigger that is? Now, I normally wouldn't punch with a 3/4. I'm probably going like a minimum of an ounce. But I didn't really have anything lead wise that would kind of line up with that. But just imagine, like, if you were trying to turn this into a 1 ounce lead bullet weight, like how much bigger that'd be. I mean, I don't math well, but basically twice that big, probably bigger around. Once again, it makes it harder to get through the mat and in and out of cover. You want something streamlined, and you want something kind of small to be able to get in and out of that cover, which kind of plays into the next part of your weight. When you pick your bait and your weight, you want it to where your weight, you know, the bait is about as big around as your weight if you can. Sometimes it's kind of unavoidable, but again, that kind of just, you know, lets it slip in and out a little better if you can keep it, you know, the width, circumference. I don't know. I got Oklahoma brain right now. I got the dumbs. Anyways, you want your bait to be about as wide as your weight, if you can help it, to help it get in and out a little better. Okay, name of the game, in and out of the cover better, okay? That's also plays in to the baits you want to pick. You want to avoid things with curly tails. So I've got a little bit here, like that. This one would probably be a little okay because it is so diminutive, it's so small, but it's got these type of little tails. And while that's minimum compared to a lot of things, that's stuff that can grab grass on the way down and not let your bait actually penetrate the cover as it needs to. So what you want are things with straight flappy style appendages. So one of my favorites is the Gambler Why Not. You know, it's pretty slim. You know, if you guys have watched any of my other punching videos, I'm a real big fan of this one. Doesn't have a whole lot of like flappy action, but again, comes in and out real well. And it's also a meaty profile, so it holds the hook real well. You'll see lots of times, like particularly with this Gambler Stinger, which another bait I like to do. However, it's thin. It's also very soft. This is a great all-around bait, but for punching, it's not my first choice because I will push a hook through a lot, and it's just because I'm pulling it out of the cover. It'll, you know, get caught up, and then the hook will start coming through, and then the hook point will start catching on a lot of stuff, and I don't like to, I don't like to have to be cleaning it off all the time. So it's not my first choice. The Wynito is my first choice. But again, slim profile stuff. This Stinger, which is just a beaver style bait. This one I've found today, it actually is getting in and out of this type of cover very well. These are milfoil mats that are pretty cheesy. There's a lot of moss on top. The mats themselves are not really thick. They look thicker than they are, but you don't have to, I've had fish coming up today and actually coming through it to get a frog. When your mats are thick, they normally don't come up to get a frog. These are fairly thin. Here's another one that I don't throw a lot, and I normally don't throw it in this color. I'll talk about colors here in a minute, but this is a Gambler BB Cricket. I mean, this guy, it's like a 3-inch long bait. I normally only go with this when I'm pretty positive they're in the mats, but they're just really not eating. They've really just kind of calmed down, or it's a light bite. They're not knocking slack in the line. Or I'm just not getting the bites I think I should be. Then I'll go with this. But when we talk about baits, you can't talk about baits and not talk about colors. So you think about those mats. I don't care how clear your water is, how clear or dirty your water is. That mat is just like a dock, right? Puts a ton of shade, which is one of the biggest reasons the fish are there. Well, if you could swim under that mat, it is dark. It's very dark under there. So I recommend not going with natural colors. So like I've got a green, this is a green pumpkin and like a black blue flake. This could get you by in some cases, but I wouldn't recommend this color most of the time. It's just a little too natural and could be a little hard for the fish to find. They're mostly finding it by feel. They can feel that bait moving around, but you want to put all the odds in your favor. You want them to be able to see it, which is why I'd recommend dark colors with a little bit of, this one is like a black, no, this is a June bug with a blue tail. That's what this is. But this little blue, when the sun does come through it, this kind of actually shows up really well. Very similar to like if you see a bluegill in the water and they got that chartreuse tail in the water, this shows up kind of like that. So that silhouettes well. This is a black and like black, blue, silver flake. Stinger, same kind of deal. Silhouettes very, very well, and makes it a lot easier for them to see. Recommend you stay away from natural colors when you're flipping mats. And then lastly, let's talk about bobber stops. It's key, it's vital within the entire setup. You gotta have it. If you're punching mats, you got to peg the sinker. If you don't, the weight's gonna make it through and the bait's never gonna get out of the mat. So you gotta peg it. And what you want to get are your rubber bobber stops. If you've never seen these before, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a tiny little loop and a wire right there. You stick your line through that and then pull this right off on the line. It's very, very simple to do. And then you run it up the line, then put your weight on, put your hook on and your bait, and get to catching them. Some people like to put 2 of these on there. If you're in like really, really thick cover using really heavy weights. I've never been anywhere where I needed more than 1.5 ounces, and anything less than 1.5 ounces, one has got me by just fine. At 1.5 ounces, I definitely, two made it a lot better, because one will start to wear out against that weight, and it'll kind of start sliding out on you as you're hopping it around. It'll actually start sliding up the line, and you'll see like your weight and your bait are not so close together as they used to be. So if you're using heavier weights, you might want to go with 2 of these. Do not use the tie-on kind. As you might see crappie anglers use when they're fishing with slip bobbers or something like that. You don't want to use those kind. One, they're a mess, and 2, they always come loose when you're fishing with them. Just like always. Don't use those when it comes to punching. Leave that for the live bait and that crap. So anyways, guys, those are the tips I got. I hope they help. If you would, leave me a comment down below. I'd like to know what baits you guys like to use for punching. What little tips you guys have. I'll absolutely steal your secrets. These aren't really my secrets anyways. So anyways, folks, Hope you liked the video. If you did, give it that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if this is your jam. Until the next time, see you guys on the water.